Hello everyone, this is Funny Krishna. Welcome back to Git and GitHub tutorials. This is a day 2 video, and in this video we are going to discuss about what is a Git. Also, we will cover how Git works, including the architecture of the Git. In the day 1 video, we covered what is a version control system and what are the different types of version control systems available in the market and why the distributed version control systems are more popular, right? Yes. Now, coming to this Git is a distributed version control system. It is a distributed version control system. And who created this? This was created by Linus Torvalds in the year 2005. This was created by Linus Torvalds in the year 2005. For what purpose he created this? It was created by Linus Torvalds for managing the development of the Linux kernel. There is a Linux operating system, right? And for that Linux operating system, there is a kernel, right? To manage the development of a Linux kernel, this Git was created. It has since become the most popular version control system software development due to its speed, flexibility, and robust branching and merging capabilities. Also, this Git this Git allows multiple developers to work on the same project concurrently. It allows multiple developers to work on the same project simultaneously. It offers the good collaboration like branching, committing, merging, and resolving the conflicts. We will discuss what is a branch, commit, and all the things. And if you ask me, what are the key features? If you ask me, what are the key features of a Git? I can list out a few. First one is it is a distributed architecture. It has a distributed architecture. What does that mean by distributed architecture? Yesterday we discussed, in the last session we discussed it, right? Every user can have a complete copy of their entire repository, including the history. History means who modified what changes, when they modified, when they did changes, everything in their local machine. Sorry. That is a distributed architecture, and it supports branching and merging. What is this branching and merging? Let us say you are working for a project, and that project obviously might have multiple features to develop, right? Each developer will work on a different feature. Instead of everyone is working on the same branch, they create a feature branches from the main branch. They create individual branches for every user, for every feature. Once they are done with the development, they will merge into the main branch. We will discuss in detail going forward. And the speed, because most of the operations in the Git are happening locally in the local machine. That's why the Git is faster than the centralized systems, because it doesn't require any continuous network communication and all. And the data integrity. So it uses a mechanism called SHA-1 hashing. To make sure that whatever the contents stored in the repository will remain intact and unchanged. Nobody can modify or nobody can change unauthorized, without any authorization. Whenever a user modifies it, they will do a commit, and that modification will be identified by a unique hash, which will prevent any accidental tampering or accidental corruption of the data and all the things. And the most last but not the least, distributed collaboration. So the developers can collaborate with, there are some commands like push, pull, right? They will send a push and pull request, and they can share the branches, and they can synchronize their work through the remote repositories and all. So these are the key features of the Git. And there are a lot of concepts to cover in this Git, starting from the repository, working directory, staging area, commit area, and all. We will see, like we will discuss like each and everything one by one. So first, let us talk about the architecture of the Git. That is the most important thing, right? Without knowing the architecture means like what are the components it has and how it works whenever we are storing some data. Without knowing those things, we are not supposed to work on the Git. Okay, now let us talk about the Git architecture. So first thing, it has a we can say four different stages. The first one is working directory. Working directory. Then staging area, and then we have a local repository. And then we have one more thing, which is a remote repository. These are the four different stages in the Git architecture. Each and everything is interconnected. Each and every stage is interconnected. I will explain. Okay. So first, let me draw a few lines. Okay. So now let us assume you are the developer. Let us assume you are the developer. You are writing the code and all the things. And wherever you are writing the code, that is known as a working directory. That is known as a working directory. Like all your data, whatever the files you save, right, that will be stored in the working directory. That will be stored in the working directory. Then what you do is we will send we will send the data into the staging area. We call it as git add. I will explain what is this git add and all the things. Let me draw this diagram so that we can discuss in detail. Then this is git commit, means you will save those changes into the local repository. Then okay, we are not yet done. This is known as git pull, or sometimes we use Git clone also. We will discuss in detail about the differences between these two. Okay, this is the basic Git architecture. This is the basic Git architecture. Now let us try to understand what exactly is going to happen between these stages. Whenever a user writes the code, whenever a user writes the code, that code will be stored in the working directory. It is a local place where the user is working and saving all his content. Then finally the data to be stored in the repository, right? Finally the data to be stored in the repository. But what we have to do is, first we have to move all the data from working directory to staging area. First of all, we must move all the data. First of all, we must move all the data from working directory to staging area. I will explain why. So from here, all the data must be moved to staging area. So whatever that, by with the help of a command called git add, staging area is also known as index. What is the meaning of an index? A content to be something. So here, what is the use of staging area is, whatever the data, whatever the content you place in the staging area, that can be moved to local repository. The local repository is the area where all your commits, the final save and history are stored. But what is the difference? Why we need the staging area? Why don't we move the data from directly from working directory to local repository? Let me explain this in a simplest way. Like how, with the example, what we can see in the house. Let us say you store all the vegetables in the fridge, right? That is a working directory. That doesn't mean whatever the vegetables you have in your refrigerator, you won't cook, you won't prepare or you won't cook at the same time, right? What you do, you will decide what curry you need, and you will pick those items and you will place them in the countertop of your kitchen, right? Kitchen counter. Kitchen counter is like the staging area. Means whatever you place on the kitchen counter, those items you will chop and you will cook. Cooking place is like local repository, the pot or whatever you use, the stove and all the things is the local repository. So whatever you place on the kitchen counter will be cooked, right? The same way, working directory, you can store any data, unnecessary data also, like passwords, configurations, what else. Then you can decide what data to be stored in the local repository, version control system. That data you have to move into the staging area. That data you have to move into the staging area. Only that data we can move into the staging area. Then whenever you perform a commit, whenever you are performing a commit, that particular commit will move or will store all the data from the staging area to local repository. That is what that is what the git commit. These all are the internal things, but we have to store something in the remote repository. Whenever you store in the remote repository, then only that can be used by your colleagues or some other people, right? Yes. So for that, we can use something called git push. Whatever you store in the local repository is available in your local computer. That can be moved into the remote repository. Remote repositories are hosted on like a GitHub or GitLab or Bitbucket. These all are the remote repositories, so that your colleagues can get all the data from the remote repository to their local repository by using what command? Definitely they use git clone, not git pull. There are different commands. Generally for the first time we use a git clone, so that everything will be cloned. Git clone or git pull, that will be coming to your local repository. From there it will comes to your working directory. So you can start work, and again you can do git add, move to staging area, then git commit, it can go to local repository, then git push, it go to the remote repository. Don't worry, just we are going to discuss about each and every command in detail. So how the git add works with the hands-on we will do. Okay, and there is one more command called git checkout. I did not mention. I think now you will get some clarity on this. Git a checkout means getting the data from local repository to working directory. So you have to perform a git pull. You have to perform a git pull, and then you have to do a git checkout. But we have an option called git clone, which is equal to git pull plus git checkout. Git clone is the combination of two commands, git pull plus git checkout. If you execute a git clone, the data will be downloaded from the remote repository to local repository, and that data will be available in the working directory so that you can start working on it. This is the Git architecture. If you are not clear with the Git architecture, just let me know in the comment section so that I can help you with the how to understand this Git and all. Okay, right. So now we have to do some kind of hands-on exercises, then only you can understand all these commands, like how to move the files from one directory to another directory, or like one stage to another stage, and all the things. So first thing, we have to install Git installation. So this Git you can install on Windows machine or a Linux machine or a MacBook also. Okay, so I will show you both on Windows and Linux machines, like how to install it. So first thing, we have to go to, just you can go to Google and just do git download. This one, gitscm.com/install/windows, right? You can see that. That is the place from where you can download the Git. So mine is the Windows machine. So you can see the standalone installer here. Git for Windows, and mine is a 64-bit operating system, not ARM. So let me click here. Majority of our machines are 64 setup only. Just click that so that it will get downloaded. See here. Already Git is installed in my machine, but that's okay. I can reinstall it. Just click, like how you will install a regular software, right? The same way you can install. Okay. So here you can click on, just uncheck it so that you can go through all options. Next, you can go with all default options. See here. Use Visual Studio Code as Git's default editor. Just you can keep that, or you can change anything. Like if you are not using Visual Studio Code, if you want to use a Notepad, or if you want to use a Sublime, Atom, you can change that, but you can keep that as is. Next. Okay, here is the one. In the olden days, that by default, whenever you create a repository, there is going to be a default branch. Earlier, the default branch was master. Now they renamed it to main. So make sure, because nowadays all organizations, all the new repositories are using the branch name as a main. So keep it like main. Next, just you can go with all default options. Next, 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 nothing else, just next, 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 and finish. So earlier I do have a 22.53.0. It is getting uninstalled and getting reinstalled with the new version. So once, and one more thing, while you are installing this, make sure that your command prompt, CMD, right, is not open. Command prompt is not open, because whatever the Git we are installing, right, the Git software is getting integrated with your command prompt. So if it got open, you have to close and reopen to make sure that it works on your machine. Okay, right. So I don't want to use this. Finish. Git is installed. How to check? how to check whether the Git is installed or not, and I want to check the version of the Git. Okay, right. So first thing we are going to check the version of the Git. Just first click on start, type Git. You can see Git bash, right? Click and open the Git bash. You can see like this. Okay. Now type git space hyphen hyphen version. Now it is showing git version 2.53.0.2. This is the version. If by any chance, if the git is not installed, then it will gives you an error unknown command called git. It gives you an error unknown command git. Okay. Now let us go with some basic configurations and all. Okay. So there is a command. I want to check a git configurations. Configuration is like you can configure your name and email address so that whenever you save any changes, those changes will be saved under your configuration names. Okay. So already I configured on my machine. So first let me show you how to view the global configuration. Okay. So the command is going to be, I think the font is visible. Let me maximize. Okay. The command is git space config hyphen hyphen global hyphen hyphen list. These all are like one-time setups. We don't configure these every day. We don't configure these every day. So it is showing my name and my email address. This is a global, right? Global configuration. Apart from this, we have another command to view all configuration, not only the global, every piece of configuration. For that, I have to type git config hyphen hyphen a list. See, it is showing all the information which is not required for me. Even for you also, it is not required. Okay. For the first time, whenever you type global configuration, you don't see your name and email address, because for the first time, whenever you are doing the git config, there is nothing in your machine. And this git supports different configuration levels. Git supports different configuration levels. What are those? System level. What are those? A system level, global level, system, global, and then local. These are the three different configurations available on a Git. These are three different configurations available on a Git. What exactly these three are? What is the system level configuration means? Any guess? System level configuration means those configurations will be applicable to every user on the system. Let us say my laptop is here, right? If I do some git system level configuration, those configurations will be applicable for every user who uses my laptop. And what about the global configuration? Global configuration means the configuration which only applicable to the current user. Like this, in this laptop, there might be three different user accounts. One is for myself, one is for my friend, and one is for yourself. So whenever you log in, your global settings will be applicable for you. Whenever my friend logs in, his global configurations will be applicable to himself. And local means you can create some configurations for a specific repository, because in this Git, in a single system, you can have multiple repositories. Like for every project, we can have one repository. My project 1, project 2, project 3, and so on, right? So here, for every project, you can have a different level of configurations with the help of a local configuration. Okay. In general, we use a global configuration so that if the same machine is used by multiple people also, whoever logged in to that machine, their configurations will be applicable for all the changes what they do. Okay. So first thing, let us update the global username and then update the global email address. Means the moment once you install, you have to configure these things. You have to configure these things. Okay. Now, what should be the command? Command should be git space config, and we are configuring the global configuration, right? So you have to do global user dot name space your name in a single quote. This is the command to update the global username. Based on this, can you tell me what should be the command to change the email address? Simple thing. Instead of user.name, you have to use user.email. Use your email. That's it. Let us do it. Okay. Right. So here, this is the command. So first, let me show you git config, git config global list. Just I'm going to view before updating. So what is the name? Username is just a funny Krishna, right? Now we are going to change that. What is the command for this? Git config global space user dot name. Now I will say Ponnam Pani Krishna. Enter. Now let us verify again. Let us view the global config. See, now you can see the username is set as Ponnam Pani Krishna. The same way you can change the email address also. How to do that? Git config global user dot email. Let me use a different some random abc@gmail.com. What happened? It got updated. See, right? So here I want to mention a point that there is no validation for email address and username. The username and email address you provide is simply used for identifying the order of the commits, who did these commits in the repository, right? As a part of a metadata. There is no validation or a verification whether the email address is correct, whether the user name is correct or not. Just a kind of a label. That's it. This is the basic thing what you have to do the moment once you install the Git. So what about the Linux machine? Remember the commands, whatever the Git level commands are same, whether you use a Windows or whether you use a Linux or whatever. There is no change in the commands. There is no change in the commands. Okay, so what is the command to view the configurations? Git config global list. It will display all the global configuration. If you want to see only just a normal configuration, then just remove global and it will display all configuration. It will display all configuration. Okay. Now what we do is, let us see how to install the same Git on a Linux machine. The reason is, being a part of a DevOps engineer, let us say if you are planning for a DevOps engineer, you will install Git on your Windows machine and you can do all the things, no doubt in that. But whenever you do some kind of CI/CD pipelines, right, the Git has to be installed on a Linux machine to configure the CI pipeline, right? So you must know how to install it. And again, in the real time, you don't install these things or these configurations on a daily basis. Only once you do and you leave it. Okay, right. So anyways, let us see how to install the Git in a Linux machine, and we will see the configuration part also. So what I'm doing is I don't have a Linux machine. So what I'm doing is I'm going to use a a Linux EC2 instance on AWS cloud platform. So already I created one Linux server, which is known as EC2 instance in AWS cloud with Amazon Linux 2023 operating system. Okay, so first let me log in. How to log into your Linux machine? If you are not aware of like what is a Linux and how to log in or how to connect, just go to the YouTube and just type like how to log into your Linux machine. You will have n number of videos. Okay, so to log in, we must use SSH client. Let us say if you want to log into your Windows machine, we use RDP client, remote desktop connection. The same way for the Linux machines, you have to use SSH client. So if you ask me the examples, there is a putty tool or there is a Mobaxter. You can use any of your favorite one. Okay, right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a Mobaxter. So for the Windows or for the Linux machines, especially on AWS, we do have something. We need a key pair. It doesn't have any username password. We have to log in with username and key pair. Where is the key pair? The key pair is available on my desktop. Already I stored it on my desktop. Let me show you. So here these are the key pairs. This is the key pair which I used. So let me navigate to that location. CD space desktop, CD space a key pair. I do see this is the so first I have to get into the place where my key pair is located. Then so already I created a Linux EC2 instance. Let me show you. Okay, this is my server in which I did not installed any Git or anything. Just I created just a few minutes ago. If you want to check, you can see the time also. But how to log in is see now 4:36 and I created 3:58. Okay, so here I need to click on connect. I will get this command. This is the command, and that's it. So now let me paste and press enter. If it find this key pair in the same location, and if the key pair is the correct key pair, if the authentication is correct, I can log in. If you have no idea with logging into the Linux machines, then we have another option also. Let me show you that. Instead of using SSH client, go to this EC2 instance connect and click on connect. So in the browser itself, you will get the terminal, like this kind of terminal you will get and you can use it. So here I logged in with the EC2-user. It is not a root user. It is not a root user. But this EC2-user is the default administrator, but not the root user. For that reason, in the Linux, for every command which we are executing other than a root user, you must use a command called sudo. Let me increase the font size here. Sudo is the mandatory. If you log in with root user, then sudo is not required. How to check with which user we logged in? You can type who am I. It will display with which user you logged in. How to log in as the root user? Sudo space -i. See, now I logged in with root user. If you want, I can check. I can show you who am I. Root user. At this case, no need to enter sudo. Just let me type exit so that I will be logged out as a root user and I logged in as a EC2-user. Okay. Before installing anything, first you have to update the repository. This is the command sudo yum update, so that if there is any pending updates, everything will be automatically downloaded, so that whenever you install a package, a software, the latest version will be installed automatically. See, nothing to do. There is no pending updates available. Okay, now how to install? So I know how to install, what is the command and all. Being a beginner, where you can get the installation procedure, we have to rely on we have to rely on the official Git documentation page. Uh, Git download. Let me go over there. Okay. So here the Linux is there, right? See Linux. Click here. Now ours is the kind of Red Hat. I mean, based on what Linux operating system you are using. So if you are using a Ubuntu, this is the command, right? If you are using Fedora, you have to use this command. So Amazon Linux 2023 is also a Red Hat and RHEL thing. So Fedora, this commands will work. Yum repository is available. So you can copy this. You can use DNF also, no worries. Yum install Git, the old traditional way, the yellow dog update manager, there's a package manager. So let me over there, copy paste, enter. What is the error? I did not enter sudo because I did not logged in as a root user. So what we have to do is sudo space command. Let me clear the screen. Sudo yum install git. Enter. See, along with the git, it is getting installed all the dependencies required to install the git. Just you need to give a confirmation by pressing Y and enter. And git got installed. How to check? The same command. Let me check the version. Git space hyphen hyphen version 2.50.1. But in the Windows, it's the 2.50.2. There's a slight difference. Okay. Sorry, I think in the Windows is the 2.50.0. Now, let us check the configuration. Git config hyphen hyphen global hyphen hyphen a list. What happened? No such file exists. Okay, let us do one thing. Let us use sudo. What happened? No such file or directory exists because we did not configure anything yet. So how to configure? First, let us configure the username. Git config hyphen hyphen user, sorry, hyphen hyphen global, then user dot name. Let me enter my name. Now let us configure the email also. Git config hyphen hyphen global user dot email. Let me enter my email ponnam.afani@gmail.com. Enter. Now let us see git config. Let us view the configurations. Git config hyphen hyphen global hyphen hyphen a list. See, now you can see. Now let us see git config hyphen hyphen list, which will display all configurations, global, system, local, and everything. But there is nothing configured yet. We haven't configured anything, right? See, this is how you can view the configuration part. That's it for this video. In the next video, we will see how to create the repositories or first repository for the project. Then we will play with that, like initializing, add, staging, committing, and all. Okay, right. So if you have any questions, feel free to comment so that I can help you out. Okay, then thank you everyone. We'll meet in the next video.